Hi, Elnura. Nice to see that we have another set of essays from you. Let's take a look and see what you wrote here. In this day and age, it is not surprising, ing, that people would rather communicate via, careful here, than directly in life. According to my opinion, web chats or video calls have more pros than cons without the its. So, I disagree with your use of the word messengers. Okay. And I also disagree with the use of, according to my opinion. And I also disagree with you limiting this essay just to this. So when we talk about online communication, there are a multitude of ways nowadays for us to communicate online. Yes, of course, there are video calls, there are web chats, there are also, online conferences. There are also email. Email is also a form of online communication. So I disagree with limiting it, and I think it should be broader for all online methods of communication. So let me try to come up with a suggestion on how this could be improved. In this day and age, it is not surprising that people would rather communicate via online means than directly in person. In my opinion, these digital modes of communication have more pros than cons. Now, that corrects it in terms of language and yeah, basically in terms of grammar and vocabulary, this improves it. However, there is another problem with this. The essay is saying that basically online communication is replacing face-to-face meetings, that they are more common than face-to-face meetings. That's what they want to know, the advantages and disadvantages. In other words, it's not what are the advantages of online meetings, what are the disadvantages of them, but the fact that they are outnumbering in-person meetings. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? Okay, that they are more widespread than in-person meetings. That's what you're supposed to be talking about, not just plainly the advantages of online, the disadvantages of online. Okay? So it's a little more advanced, it's a little more subtle than perhaps what you have here. Let's take a look at what you wrote. To begin with, digital communication is not always acceptable to decide and solve problems. I don't agree with the word acceptable. I think appropriate would be better. Or, yeah, it's not always appropriate when deciding and solving problems, is how I would fix this. This is because, without a comma, you can even see that Microsoft Word has underlined this because it's incorrect. This is because some important plans are not explained easily. You need an adverb here. Similarly, relationships with an S between colleagues would not be, okay, I see. Similarly, relationships between colleagues would not be the same as if they worked in an office. Okay, now both of these need to be developed. You need to explain, give me an example about a plan that is not explained easily. Explain to me why relationships would not be the same. Okay, so you need to do a little more work here to develop your ideas rather than just kind of telling me ideas but not actually going into any detail. Okay. All right. Then, however, everything has solutions, period. New sentence. Nowadays, there are numerous platforms such as Zoom, Google Meet. Okay, Zoom and Google Meet to discuss issues and contact each other. In fact, online jobs are not as difficult as society represents them, and everyone's precious time is optimized. Okay. I don't really love the way you switched sides in the middle of this paragraph. So here you talked about what's not good about online communication, and then all of a sudden you switched it and you said, oh well, Google Meets and Zoom are great. So I didn't really like that because then you didn't have one central idea. All right, you switched ideas kind of midway. So I don't think that's such a good idea as far as your coherence and cohesion are concerned. Okay, we can talk more about it, but I want to see your next paragraph before I do that. During COVID-19, all countries experienced working from home. As a result, the majority of jobs had opportunities to work online. Due to this, up-to-date individuals have learned to save plenty of time, which is incredibly useful to people. Workers should not go to work, no comma there, and subsequently it is wasting time. All right, this is awkward. Workers no longer have to go to an office and subsequently, no, workers no longer have to go to an office as this wastes time on the road due to traffic jams. Okay, it's a little not super clear, but at least it's a little more accurate. Instead, comma, laborers are able to eat on time and suitably expenses. I don't know what that is. What does suitably expenses mean? It's unclear. So laborers are able to eat on time and their expenses are decreased, which could help to live without stresses. In addition, in online meetings, it is easy to take and give feedback and have a nice time during work. Why? Tell me why. Consequently, remaining time would be if remaining time would be used efficiently for those who do not have a chance to allocate time for themselves. I don't understand this, I'm afraid, Elnura. It's really unclear. Research has found that 60% of employees suffer from a lack of sleep. Therefore, it would be a good chance to enjoy not a fascinating life. I mean, if you're sleeping, that doesn't mean your life is fascinating. All right, maybe it's a more restful life, or maybe it's a more physically healthy life, something, but definitely not fascinating here. So I had a real hard time with this paragraph. Quite frankly, I had a real hard time with both of them. Because there seems to be something happening with your coherence and cohesion. I'm having a hard time seeing what the main idea is of each paragraph. Remember, each paragraph needs to have one central concept, one central idea that is the guiding idea throughout the paragraph. And usually it's important for this to be clear in that first sentence of the paragraph. So let's try it a little differently. First of all, I would have spent this entire paragraph just focusing on the disadvantages because you said there are more pros and cons, and it asks you to talk about advantages and disadvantages. So in this paragraph, I would have talked only about the cons. Okay, so what could you have said? You could have said like there is a problem with communication. Okay, there's a problem with communication when you're working online. Um, People miss some nonverbal cues. There's none of that nonverbal communication because everyone just sees everyone's face on a screen at best. And so not all of that information is communicated well. Okay, so I wanted more description, more support. And then here, yeah, it's true. You don't develop relationships with your colleagues as well if you're just talking to them over email or, just like on a video chat. You don't develop relationships because you're not eating together. You're not taking a break together. And so some of that is lost when you're, just communicating with people online. But you needed to go into detail. And then all of this should have not been there. It really shouldn't have been because you were talking about the negatives in this paragraph. Okay? Then, here, I really had a hard time with the language you used. I think you were on the right track as far as what you wanted to say, but it's the way you said it that really ran into a lot of problems. Okay, so for one thing, you could have said that, like this for me was the wrong first sentence. Forget about COVID-19. You should have said, uh, however, um, online communication does provide many benefits for employees. Now, that's a clear topic sentence because then the reader knows, oh, okay, I'm going to hear about the benefits in this paragraph. And that's what you want. Then you could say, one benefit of this is that it has allowed people to work remotely. Remote work allows people to save time and money because they are working from home or elsewhere and do not have to commute and spend time and money on traveling to and from work. Okay, so that would really develop this idea. Then you could say that basically you could say like online meetings provide what else? You said something about time. Um, yeah, I don't want you to talk just about remote work. I also want you to talk about how it facilitates, you know, work even when you're in the same office. So let me give you an example of how email helps. You have a written record of what has been discussed when you're talking online. Okay. So when you have emails with somebody, you have a written record. There's no confusion like, I said that. No, I didn't. You know, you didn't say that. Yes, you did. Okay. All of it is recorded. And so email and even online chats provide a written record of what has been discussed. So there's no miscommunication. Okay. And that is true whether you're working remotely or in the same office. So that's something else you could have talked about here. All right, let's see. To sum up, online communication leads to gain, and I don't understand this, appreciate time. Online communication leads to more time, protects from the spread of disease. No, Uh, to sum up, why don't we do this? To sum up, online communication clearly has more benefits than drawbacks. Um, in the future, it is predicted that online communication will grow in importance. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay. And I think that would have sounded much better than what you've got here. Okay. So why don't we move on? I know we've got a task one coming up here somewhere. So let's look at that too. So why don't we see what you've got here in your task one. The figure is composed of revenues from selling brown and black leather shows in 2018. All right, I need you to use more task one grammar here. So the bar chart provides, and it's not revenue, that's incorrect. It's the number of shoes. Revenue is something totally different. So let's try it one more time. The chart provides information about um, brown and black leather shoes sold in 2018 in 9 European countries. Okay, that's how you have to do it. So you tell me what kind of diagram it is. It's a bar chart. You tell me what it shows, where and when. Okay? For the majority of the countries, managed to increase the percentage of shoe sales. That's not true. There is no increase happening here. Okay. There's no increase. It's just a moment in time. This is called a static chart because there is no change. It's showing you just a general picture of the year. So you should not use language like increase. So the first sentence is incorrect. I'm just going to ignore it. The country that experienced the largest gain of brown leather was Poland. Okay, it didn't gain. It just had the largest sales of brown leather shoes. So the country with the largest number of brown leather shoes sold was Poland at above 100 million, while the least sales were shown in Belgium. Okay. In Hungary, black shoes sold nearly 150 million. Likewise, brown leather illustrates sales above 100 million. Okay, we're going to talk about this. The least, not the least purchase. No, the least number of purchases of black shoes was in France. I don't understand this halved. I don't understand that. Are you trying to say that this was half of this? Okay. It's not clear. So maybe you could say that in France, the sales of black leather shoes were half those of brown leather shoes, comma, at 50 million compared to 100 million, which I don't know if that's correct. Oh, okay. 25 million. No, I don't know where you're coming up with this 50 million. Because this is like 75 and this is like 35, so I'm confused. Okay. Germany shows one of the highest sales of brown leather, above 100 million. The only countries, no comma, which had flattened out. I don't know what that means. In both types of shoes sales are Italy, the UK, Ireland, and all right. I don't know what's happening with your grammar here, Elnura. I really can't even fix it because at this point it's creating a strain. I'm unclear about what you're trying to say. And at this point, it's very difficult for me to follow any sort of report that you're doing here. Okay, because just every sentence is full of errors. We're also going to talk about how I would change this in terms of the structure, but let's do that in a minute. Overall, it is clear that the most popular leather was black. Sales show over 25 million. I don't understand that. Why over 25 million? Meanwhile, the smallest sales of brown leather shoes demonstrate marginally over 5 million. 25 million? Wait a minute. What did you do? Did you add them all together? All right, you didn't really need to do that. I would not have included that information. Is that, wait, why are we talking about millions here? Hold on a second. It's in the 100,000s. So this number means 100,000. This means 50,000. So I don't know why you're talking about millions. This is rather confusing to me. So it looks inaccurate. Look, you did it here too, 100 million. I just picked up on it. So you should not be talking about millions. You should be talking about hundreds of thousands. Okay, so this is going to decrease your task achievement score because of accuracy. The score in grammar is going to have a low score because there are just so many errors and it creates a strain. So I really need you to boost up your grammar here. Okay, that's the first thing. And I also need you to be more accurate. Now, let me tell you a little bit about organization of your ideas. I really disagree with having one paragraph like this, okay? Because it didn't allow you to organize well. I would have had a paragraph separately for brown leather shoes and a paragraph separately for black. In the paragraph about black shoes, I would have started talking about the highest number, Hungary, then Italy, and then briefly mentioned Belgium. Then I would mention France because it was the lowest sale of black leather shoes. And then I would just kind of smush all these together, saying that the rest of the country sold between 50 and 100,000. And then I would do the same thing with my brown leather paragraph. Okay. So that's how I would like you to treat this. I think it's a good way to cover all the information without getting too overwhelmed with details. Okay. All right. So go ahead, correct these. Let's see more work from you. And let's see you apply some of these changes. Okay. Also, work on that grammar. I'm looking forward to it. Good luck.